Okay, get this scenario. My husband, I just married him. So right before we got married, he told me this. Hey, is it okay if my ex-wife moves in with us when we get our new home after we're married so I can be closer to my kids? Well, guys, I played it cool. I didn't let him know that I was absolutely irate, and I decided to do this on the wedding day. I'm currently undergoing therapy to deal with slight depression. I just recently suffered a breakup, and it's not the first. I come from a family of 5. It's just my parents, my 3 sisters, and I. My both parents were civil servants who earned just enough to train their 3 daughters. I'm sure that they've been looking forward to the time with either of their daughters, if not all, would get married to some rich guy and improve their financial status. That's basically the expectation of most parents who have the daughters of a marriageable age. Well, they've been waiting for the dream to come true, and they would yet need to wait a while as neither my sister nor I's getting married soon. I'm the eldest child, and my youngest sister kind of looks up to me for guidance, more like a model or a mentor or some sort. I try to do my best to meet up with the expectation, though. But one place where I seem repeatedly to fail is my inability to keep a successful relationship. I won't really say that it's my fault, as only a stupid woman who was as old as I am would repeatedly break up with her lovers for no reason at all. My failure in relationships seemed to come from the other side. I somehow always end up with the wrong guy. It is almost as if the right person just never came my way. I had 3 guys within the past 2 years, and though they were quality about them, which I admired at first, I would always find out something disgusting somewhere along the way. If it's not a gay man trying to hide his sexuality by being with a lady, it was a guy who's too attached to his mother, to the point he turns our relationship into a trio, comprising of the both of us and his mother. And the worst part of it was he always paid more attention to his mother, like, what nonsense. The last guy who's responsible for my therapy session is Oliver. He was nice and sweet at the beginning, but history soon repeated itself as he stopped giving me attention within 3 months of the relationship. I practically begged for his attention. It later turned out that he never really loved me. He was a playboy who had placed a bet with his friends that he was going to bed me within 4 months of meeting me. He won the bet, by the way, by a far margin, as he was able to sleep with me within just 2 months after meeting me. It was how cheap my desperation to own a guy had made me. The painful part was when he even began asking my younger sister out. What a dog! Unlike me, though, my younger sisters are doing pretty well in the area of love and life, as they're currently in relationships that are over 3 years old. The breakup from Oliver really broke me down to the point of seeking therapy, and my family's really been supportive in the whole ordeal. My mother would always tell me that it was better that these relationships ended before they transitioned into marriage. Otherwise, I would have found myself in an even bigger disaster. I'm doing well with my therapist, and I've made the resolution to focus on my career once I heal. Dating men have been relegated to the bottom of my to-do list. Update number 1, 3 months after the original post. I recently broke my resolution to not date any guy at the moment. After my therapy session was over, my younger sister got proposed to by her lover, but she declined marrying him at the moment. This was a guy whom they've been together for more than 3 years, and the family's gotten so used to him. We knew for a fact that he loved my sister to bits, and so it was really surprising when she turned down the request to marry him. The fiancé came to the house to see my parents, and they were just as stunned as I was, because we've all been hoping that my sister's fiancé would end the dating of over 3 years and make her his wife. My parents spoke to my sister about the reason behind her decision not to get married, and I was shocked when she said that it was because of me. My younger sister said that I've just recovered from the pain of the 3rd heartbreak in literally less than 2 years, and so watching me get married almost immediately could cause me to relapse. I was moved by her thoughtfulness, but I made her understand that she did not need to postpone her happiness because of me. It would not be fair that I caused her to delay the marriage, right? Simply because I've had unsuccessful relationships? I told her to go ahead and accept her lover's proposal, as it was clear that she loved him too. Her lover thankfully did not change his mind when she went back to him with a positive answer. My younger sister's wedding day happened 2 weeks after, and I can say that I initially felt out of place. It was then I understood what my sister was trying to avoid all along. Everyone had a partner that day except for me. It really hurt so bad to the point that I had to devise a means to mask my pain. I began running around to make sure things were in order. This was just me being too busy to feel the pain. It was while I was making sure that nothing got out of place that I bumped into Liam. Liam is an architect who recently moved into the city, and I don't think he directly knew my sister or her husband. He tagged along a friend who was actually invited to the party. While apologized for bumping into him, I noticed that he was without a partner. I was grateful he did not let me go by without opening up a conversation, because the whole busy charade that I was putting up was not really working. We talked beyond the party, and that was when we started to see each other. I've gone out on a couple of dates with him before I finally informed my parents that I was seeing someone. Something I initially did not want to tell them because they've witnessed my previous relationships crumble to the ground. And I was not sure where this one was headed. My parents were welcomed the news of me dating someone, and they were pleased with the fact that I was not going to sit back and watch my life go down the drain because of past failures. I, however, feel like though they were happy for me. They were somewhat scared because they didn't know if I could be able to survive another heartbreak. I understand their fear, and their concern over me is greatly appreciated but not necessary. Within the short time that I've been with Liam, I can tell that he's different from the rest. He's more like the correction of the others. He knew just how to treat a lady properly. I did not need to beg for attention or affection, neither did I need to throw myself at him. He came after me like he desperately needed me. I can see it from the way he treats me and all. I feel like I found my soulmate in him, and I'm somehow thankful that those other relationships of the past never worked out because I would not have given Liam the chance to prove that he is the one for me. This is probably the best time of my life. Honestly, I can't remember when I last felt this happy and satisfied. Update number 2. Hey guys, I recently cried, and it was because of Liam. He traveled out of the city 2 weeks ago, and when he returned, I went over to his place to spend the weekend. Everything was cool until I opened the door to an unexpected and unwanted visitor on the Sunday afternoon. Liam and I were both just getting cozy when we heard a knock on the door. I went to go to the door, and there was a lady standing right in front of me. She gave me a kind of look that made me begin to ask myself on the inside if I've probably offended her from anywhere. She asked to see Liam, and before I could respond, she forced her way through to find Liam in his pants. Well, she got the picture. She didn't want to wait around for me to begin asking questions and all. She simply informed me that she was Liam's wife. I was shocked, though it made perfect sense because why else would she give me a killer look like I've just stolen her property? And why else would she just force her way through? I turned to look at Liam to debunk the claim that she had just made, but Liam had mumbled, "It's not what you think." I wonder what he expects me to think when a lady just burst into the apartment with entitlement mentality and he could not even reprimand her. Her claim was obviously true. I just went in, got dressed, picked my bag, and headed to the door. He tried stopping me, but I reacted by giving him 2 dirty slaps. I could not wrap my head around the fact that I was sleeping with another woman's husband. It would have been a different scenario if he were still single, but he was married, and I'm never going to be a man's side chick. I would never share my man with another lady, and neither would I share another man's lady with her. It then dawned on me that I've been so stupid to not ask him all these times why a man who was rich, successful, at his age was single and living in an apartment by himself. I went straight to my parents' home where I immediately burst into tears. I locked myself in the room for the rest of the whole day. I was ready to start telling them that their fear about my history repeating itself had just come to pass. It was obvious that my relationship with Liam was going to end like the other ones. Liam came to see me the next day, and though I was still hurt at my discovery, I decided to listen to what he had to say, because among all the guys I've ever dated, he was the only one so far that came to offer an apology to me after causing me such pain. Liam began narrating to me his life history, how he comes from a wealthy family just like his wife Sandra, and they've both gotten married to each other because of the two families being close. He claimed that though they had 2 kids, they've grown apart over the years and decided to opt out for divorce. It was the divorce counselor who advised them to spend a little time apart from each other so they could properly evaluate things under the right frame of mindset. Liam noted that it was after that they've taken the decision to spend time apart that he decided to move into a new city where I was, and he was glad that he did because that's when he met me. Lots of thoughts began going through my mind when Liam got to the part that it was a while he was taking some time apart from his wife and kids that he met me. Was I just a fling? Or was what he had shared so far real? When did he plan on telling me about his wife and children? Did he just use me as a form of distraction? What was he going to do in his wife's insisting that he did not want a divorce? Liam was sensible enough to suspect that I was thinking, and he continued by telling that he had decided he was going to get the divorce. And that was what his trip 2 weeks ago was all about. He'd gone to inform his wife that he's no longer going to be staying in the marriage, but she was not in support of it. Liam, however, assured me that he was going to get the divorce regardless of what she said or wanted. He pleaded with me not to break it off with him. That was the first time in my life that a guy would cry like a child and ask that I don't leave him. After listening to Liam's explanation, I forgave him for hiding his marital status from me. And though my head said no, red flag, my heart screamed yes. And so I decided that I was going to hold on and not let go of what we shared. We're still together though, and I'm keeping my parents and every other person in the dark about this marital status, as my parents would immediately start mounting pressure on me to let him go. What's up everybody, Mr. Edito here. So update 3 is coming up, and it has a couple twists and turns you might not see coming. I hope you guys are enjoying your day so far. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing if you like saga stories, because I read them every single day on the channel. Alright, let's go ahead and see what's happening with OP and Liam. Liam recently proposed to me, but I turned him down. This was not because I didn't love him or so. The circumstance demanded that I said no. After I learned about his wife and children, we continued dating till something unexpected happened one day. I was at my parents' place on the day when Sandra showed up with her 2 boys. Everyone was around, so I could not just ask her to leave. Though I knew her reason for coming would not be far from me asking to let her husband be. Sandra introduced herself to my family, and they were shocked to learn that she was the wife of the man I'm dating. She began pleading with the family to help save her marriage by asking me to take my hands off Liam. She pointed at the 2 boys and noted that growing apart from their father would negatively affect them, as there was a lot of fathering he had to do to teach his son. She played the pity role very well, and I'll admit, I knew that all heck was about to break loose once she left. My parents turned to confirm to me that I was aware that Liam was married, and my silence was enough to let them know the answer. They assured Sandra that they would deal with the issue quickly. Immediately, Sandra left, and my parents focused the whole of their energy on me. My mother began saying that she could not imagine how she would have pulled through in life if she spent most of her time fighting another lady for her husband. She continued to remind us of the fact that she was the product of a single mother, whose husband ran off with some other lady, and it was not a pretty experience growing up without the guidance of a father. My father wasn't even willing to give any form of a long talk. He outrightly told me that he was disappointed in me because in my desperate bid to land myself a man, I was willing to tear apart a home, not minding the effect my action would have on 2 little kids. My father's words hit me really hard. I began to cry, and that was when they wanted to listen to what I had to say. I informed them about Liam's history, how he got married to his wife as a result of his parents' coercion. I made them understand that I've met him while he and his wife were having trouble with their marriage and tried taking some time apart. I thought that he was single when I met him, otherwise I would have never, ever considered dating him in the first place. My parents then saw reason with me. They told me that, of a truth, I was not to blame about the issue he was having with his wife. But now I learnt about his marital status, I needed to put whatever I have going on with him on pause till he's done with the divorce, at least with his wife. They noted that he may be finding the new experience he's having with me thrilling, very thrilling, and that might be affecting his judgment on the issue that relates to his marriage. Well, I saw reason with that answer from my parents, though it was going to be really difficult for me. I knew that I had to keep Liam at a distance till his divorce was finalized and still decided to be with me. I called Liam and set up a meeting with him. It was supposed to be during lunch, and I was going to tell him what I had in mind. Liam, however, called and asked that we meet for dinner at a fancy restaurant where I loved going to. It was okay by me. Whether we met for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it was not going to change that I was about to tell him. So, we finally met for dinner that evening, and at the moment I set my eyes on him, it became so difficult telling him that we need to take a break. While I was trying to find the courage to do the needful, he began telling me how his life had become such a lie since he met me, and how he could not live without me. The more he spoke, the more I lost strength to tell him what I wanted to tell him. He finally did it. He got down on one knee and proposed to me in the middle of his speech, pulling out a ring from his pocket. I was shocked because then I knew, here comes the proposal. Why was I still overwhelmed by the whole thing? He asked me to be his wife, and I looked at Liam with tears flowing through my eyes. This was not tears of joy, as some folks might say. This was tears of pain, coming from the fact that I was going to turn down the first man that's ever proposed to me. With heavy tears in my eyes, I told Liam that I could not get married to him. Liam was shocked. He never expected that I would say no to him because it's clear that I was into him. He would not let me leave the restaurant without giving him an answer. I was so busy crying while he asked if it was because of his wife. I nodded in the affirmative, and he said the reason he wanted to get engaged to me was to prove to me that he loved me as he claimed. It was at that point that I told him of his wife's visit to my family's home, and how the whole thing played out. I told him that my parents suggested I let go of him till the divorce is finalized. Well, because having me around him could hinder him from making the decision that he wants to divorce or not. I told Liam that despite the fact that I loved him, he on the other hand may just be infatuated with me, as I was the first one and one lady that he's been with since he got married to his wife. And just like every new relationship, there's usually lots of excitement at the beginning, which could be confused for love. I told Liam that he needed to deal with his issues first before coming for me, as what would people say about me when they discovered that I was engaged to another woman's husband? Update number 4, 6 months later. Well, it's been 6 months, guys, and I'm currently engaged to Liam. I know it sounds unbelievable, but it's nothing but the truth. After my initial rejection and decision to stay far from him, Liam had rushed the whole divorce process. He obviously did not want to lose the thrilling experience he was getting with me. In his bid to get it over with me, he gave in to the demands of his wife. She asked not just for 50% of his property, she greedily asked for 60%. Knowing full well that her husband, who was eager to get away from her, would do anything to sever the link as soon as possible. She equally went ahead and asked for full custody of the children. She wanted to deprive him of his child by not seeking for joint custody. Liam surprisingly agreed, and I was the only thing on his mind. I was at home last week when he popped in unexpectedly. My parents opened the door to him, of course, but they were not as welcoming as they were when they never knew that he was initially married. Liam knew everyone was probably skeptical about him at that point, and he proceeds to tell us that he had just divorced his wife Sandra. I was glad on the inside, but I refused to show it, especially not in front of my parents. I would not want them to know that I've secretly been wishing that Liam did not change his mind and cancel the divorce plans. Liam apologized to my parents for not informing them for the onset about his initial marital status, and he proceeded to ask the permission to date me. My father simply nodded and said that it's all up to me to decide who I want to date or end up with. And Liam immediately pulled out a ring and replayed the whole restaurant episode. I could no longer hide my excitement at this point. I immediately said yes, and our lips were locked together. not minding the presence of everyone there, and my parents would later call us and advise that we did not start making marriage plans, as we needed to let the dust which Liam's divorce has raised settle. The decision was very okay by us. What mattered most was that when we could both be together and not hide anything from anyone. So, I immediately moved in with Liam and we began having the best time of our lives. Even though we're not married, we live like a couple. Liam would not let me out of his sight. He claimed that I was all he needed at all times. I loved it. Things began to take a different turn, though, 3 months later. Liam began feeling the absence of his kids. I would sometimes catch him lost in his thoughts, and I knew it had to be about his children. Part of the divorce agreement, which he had signed, and meant that he could not just badge into his ex-wife and demand to see his kids. Well, in the past few months, he had only seen his kids once. I suggested that he asked his wife to let them come spend some time with us. My reason was so that he could spend ample time with them, and I could get to know them better. He reached out to his wife, and the appeal, that was all he could do, but she turned him down. We continued living our lives through Liam. Every responsible father still yearned to play an active role in the life of his sons. To get his minds off his wife and kids, I suggested that we get married. It was an idea which he welcomed, and we informed my parents of the decision. His family were in a different city, and though they did not oppose his divorce from his ex-wife Sandra, he knew that they might not be too welcoming of our marriage, and so he thought it best to just leave them out. It was while we were putting the wedding plans together that we surprisingly got a call from his wife that Liam could come pick his kids up and spend a 2-week vacation with them. Liam brought his sons back home, and you could tell that they've greatly missed each other. I tried my best to bond with Liam's kids, but the more I tried, the more difficult they made it for me. I refused telling Liam that I felt his wife was manipulating their sons to get in between us. I soon began hearing them tell their father how they missed being a big ol' happy family. It was clear that those children were trying to emotionally blackmail Liam into bringing Sandra back into his life. But Liam was too blind to see it. In all of this, Liam never failed to reassure me of his love, though he equally loved his kids as well. And I don't blame him. 2 weeks was up and Sandra came to personally pick up her boys. They began crying and pleading with their father to not let her take them away, please. Well, there was nothing Liam could do as Sandra just took the kids away. Liam was somewhat withdrawn from the whole wedding preparations after that. He focused more on how to bring his kids closer to him. I understand that this was a trying time for Liam, and I promised to be by his side no matter what. I told him that he could count on me for anything, and I meant it. That was my mistake, though. I shouldn't have given him such an opportunity. Liam called me 3 days ago to tell me that he had found a befitting solution. He said that he was going to ask the mother of his kids to move in with us together, with the boys, after we got married. I tried processing the nonsense that he just said. It made no sense. Was he actually asking that she moves in with us because she had given birth to his boys and was not willing to part with them? Or was he asking because he wanted to have them both of us? I don't know. Whatever the case was, I'm not comfortable with it. I told him that it's a bad idea because what would happen to the woman who would equally have sexual needs? Was he going to be the one to meet her needs? Liam asked that I thought carefully about it, as it would really help him get closer to the children. What would you do if you were in my shoes? What would you do if your fiancé suddenly tells you that he would want to live with you, his kids, and his ex-wife right after our marriage? What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So we're about to enter our final update. Update number 5, and it's been 6 long months since the last post, guys. Here it is. It's been 6 months since Liam came up with his desire to have his ex-wife move in with us, and I'm currently dating someone else. I know you're probably wondering the kind of lady I am, by the truth of the matter is this. No lady would be willing to have her husband's ex-wife move in with her simply because they've gotten some kids together. I'm really glad that Liam brought up the idea before we got married, and it just helped me avoid the trap. After he had made his intentions known to me, I knew that I had to let him out of my life for good. But I was not just going to let it be like the others. Liam had brought up his suggestion, which was more like a demand just a few weeks to our wedding, and so I played along while I continued to draft my plan. I began disconnecting from him emotionally, while still making plans for the wedding, a wedding which was not going to happen, at least not with me. I began going for choice things to be used for the wedding ceremony. Expensive wedding dresses, expensive wedding venues, and the rest. The goal was to have him spend as much money as possible. The wedding cards have not been sent out a week before the wedding day, and we sent a reminder to the wedding guests who had been invited to the occasion. Well, the wedding day finally came and everything was set. Liam could barely wait to call me his wife, and he'd already made arrangements to have his ex-wife and kids move in with us just 2 days after we got married. And I knew that his ex-wife had orchestrated the whole thing just so that I would not have Liam since she couldn't either. I knew that if I made the mistake of living with her in the same house, then it's going to be one of those episodes of problems after problems. Well, she succeeded because my mind was made up. I did not want Liam anymore, and that was exactly the point I've proved to everyone on my wedding day. We finally got to the part where the minister asked if there's anybody who was against our union, and I indicated by raising my hand. Everyone, including Liam, was shocked. Even my parents were not left out because I didn't tell anyone about my plans. I began telling everyone present how Liam had initially hid his previous marital status from me, and how he was making arrangements to bring his ex-wife to live with us. Immediately, I mentioned the part of Sandra coming to live with us after the marriage. Everyone. My parents, the guest, and even the minister was shocked to say the least. I immediately stated that I was not going to move further with the wedding as I could not share my man with another woman. Nobody blamed me, really. As a matter of fact, they directed their anger towards Liam. I left the church with my parents following in suit. They were actually proud of me for standing up for myself. Immediately I left the church, I went directly to the police station and obtained a restraining order against Liam, as I knew he would come for me either to beg or vent his anger. He could go back to his wife for all I cared. I'm currently dating someone else, and I'm not tensed about the whole outcome it might be. If it doesn't work out, I'll simply get out, find another lover, till I find the right one. Alright, so I'm not gonna lie about this story at all. I don't know what was going on in Liam's head. I mean, yeah, I can understand. He doesn't want to be in that marriage anymore, so that's why he went ahead with the divorce. But asking his new wife if his ex-wife can move in too, just so he can be closer to the children, I think is absolutely absurd. I honestly think that he was planning this the whole time. And another red flag was the fact that he did not even tell OP, hey, I have another wife, let me explain from the get-go, we're trying to end things, it's a little sticky situation, but no, he just totally kept her in the dark. Guys, it's a tough situation here, but let me know your thoughts about this. It was a lot to take in. Drop your comments down below. My name's Mr. Reddito. If you don't know who I am, I read stories every single day. So if you like today's content, check back tomorrow around the same time, and we'll be reading some stories. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys then.